And welcome everybody to another glorious episode of the Put On Waivers podcast. I'm your host, Dwayne Douglas, podcasting off the beautiful shores of the Pacific Ocean. Beautiful day out here in Southern California. A little windy, a little chilly, but that's all right. It's 71, 75, you know how it is. You know how we do out here. This is how we do, like Montel Jordan said. This is how we do. My partner is James Amato. He's podcasting off the beautiful shores of the Atlantic Ocean, rocking a Cheap Trick shirt, chilling out there in CT. How you doing today, James?
Doing good. Yes, it was a Cheap Trick kind of day, a long day at work, so I had to come home and jam some Cheap Trick. That's the only way to get through the night after some of those long days at work. So here we are, another Put On Waivers podcast. Looking forward to it.
Some good stuff.
All rolling.
Let's go. RTPOW podcast is my Twitter handle. James is JR_Amato 824. Thank you for people listening in Carlsbad, California, Cooperstown, New York, Butte, Montana, Miami, Florida, and Kansas City, Missouri. I hate the Chiefs. As far as that goes. We're gonna do a little different now. We're gonna talk a little NBA before we go to Major League Baseball. First of all, playoffs are back. Good to see some fans in there, and fans in the stands, and people are getting a little too rambunctious, I guess, if you will. What do you make of all the? It's like there's an overabundance of fan interference, if you will. Running onto the court. That was a great tackle, by the way, by that security guard. That was amazing. And like I said, listen, you and I are old enough to know the Monica Seles situation. So the last thing you really want is a fan on the field or the court, I should say, who has bad intentions.
Yeah, but I mean, my question to you is it any more than there's ever been in the past? Or is it just getting more media?
I have no way. I have absolutely no way. As I just got a note tonight that Anthony Davis has been cleared with his groin injury to play in the elimination game tonight with the Lakers and the Suns. By the time this airs, that game will already be done, and the Lakers will be going to a Game 7 or be going home. So I just wanted to pass that along. But I don't know. I really don't know. I don't. I mean, there is really. And I don't know, because also you look at I know you look at some people's websites like John Boy or Michael Rappaport, they show these crazy baseball fights, and the fight. I mean, is it the same? I mean, is it gonna ever stop unless they stop selling alcohol? I mean, it's never gonna stop unless they stop selling alcohol. I mean,
not with the amount of money they make off $18 beers.
Yeah, absolutely.
The profits on those.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that's not gonna end. I honestly. Has some of this stuff been more outrageous? Yeah, I think it has been. I think the spitting incident was the worst.
Yeah,
of them.
Bad. That's right.
But we've seen bottles thrown before. We've seen players go in the stands. You just think back to some of the baseball games of the 70s and 80s where there were bad calls, and when they used to give out baseballs at baseball games and all the balls getting thrown on the field. So fan behavior is always there. I don't want to put like a fake news spin on it or anything like that, but it's almost like, hey, the media is latched on to something, we're letting, fans back into the stands, and this is how they're acting. Hey, that's how they've always acted. Snowballs of Philadelphia, snowballs at Giant Stadium. Actually, ice balls at Giant Stadium, in which a personnel of a visiting team had his cheekbone smashed. So I don't think it's any more than in the past. I think it's just getting more media attention nowadays.
Because we have more cameras now, right?
We have more cameras. We have more fans willing to tell on other fans. Yeah, social media too. Yeah. So, there's not only just the cameras that televise the games, there's security cameras now all over the place, and there's these really deep facial recognition security cameras all over that you may not even realize you're sitting next to one or walking through one. And that's how they're getting the fans. But all we need is a couple of shark attacks in Long Island, and that'll be a front page news instead of all the fans acting out at baseball games.
Yeah, I think so too. I mean, there's no way to measure if it's more or less. So So that's always a good point. And I just feel like at the end of the day, like if they're really concerned with it, they'll stop selling. If you stop selling alcohol in the seventh inning, that's a little too late.
A little too late.
If you stop selling it in the fourth quarter, that's a little too late.
Yeah, and I mean, I think we've all been to stadiums and arenas where there's no drinking in the parking lot, and we know how well that goes over. So
Yes. I mean, listen. I mean, how many times did you ever go out with friends and like back in the day, and the pregame was actually better than the actual event you went to? So I mean,
well, yeah, because you didn't want to spend, back then it was $8 on beers, which you would get for $2 at the bar. So there was still the big markup, but yeah, that's just the American pastime.
Yeah, no question about it. The Knicks are not back, so I know that disappoints Knicks fans. I did not. I think they have some good young pieces. I think RJ Barrett had a really good playoff. But when your two key players are Derrick Rose and Julius Randle, that's not saying the Knicks are back. Like the Atlanta Hawks are back because that entire team is young under contract, and they have a really good coach in Nate McMillan. I'm happy that Nate McMillan has this team. I'm not sure if they can beat Philadelphia. I mean, if Philadelphia doesn't have, Embiid, maybe they can, James. But I do think that it's a little early to say the Knicks are back. I think they definitely need a kind of an influx of free agent, a big time free agent to go along with the young pieces they have, and then they could be back. But they're not back. I mean, it was nice. It was a nice thing.
Look, the Knicks had a nice run, and I was excited watching the games. To hear the Garden on game one. And the Garden today sounds the same way it sounded in 1994, the same way it sounded in 1972.
Which is amazing.
Like, and when you build these new stadiums and these new arenas, look what they've done with the Garden, because that arena always sounds the same for every Knick game, every Ranger game. It's the same excitement level. And I was pumped watching game one, and is it a different series? They're 2-0 at home going into Atlanta. I don't know. But, let's face the fact, when the Knicks were 3-0 against Atlanta in the regular season, Atlanta had two starters out every game that they played the Knicks due to injuries. And then Trae Young only played half of one of those games.
Yep.
So, but the Knicks are in a very nice spot to, add a superstar. And hopefully, the players are watching and, what was going on there. And the players are talking favorable about Thibodeau. They're talking favorable about the front office. And that's what you need. A lot of reporters and a lot of Knicks fans were happy that they didn't make any big moves at the trade deadline. And I don't want to hear about that now, that the Knicks should have made a big move at the trade deadline.
Yes.
This was not a team predicted to go to the playoffs this year. In fact, I think the over-under was 22 for this team. And 22 might be high. So this is a team that really came together, took advantage of the COVID schedule was really weird this year, starting at Christmas. It wasn't the full 82 games, but hey, you have to, if you're a Knicks fan, you have to like the future, and they had the 2013 playoff team, and we know that a lot of free agents didn't want to go there because they didn't want to play with Carmelo. So that's couldn't land the big free agent, but hopefully, players are watching the playoffs. Lonzo Ball is the big rumor that his dad wants him to go to New York. He's a free agent. The Knicks, by not making any trades at the deadline, depending on where the salary cap is going to be, you're going to be 60 million under. So the future is bright, and they need to continue on this path of making right basketball decisions.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, game one and game two, the Knicks fans are Knicks fans, and in a way, you hear a lot that they're the most beloved team in New York City, the way the Bruins are the most beloved team in Boston.
I agree
and
with that.
I think it's still true to this day. I think the Knicks have the greatest fan base. It may not be the biggest fan base in New York, and they may not have the championships of the Yankees or the Giants even, but hey, the fans love that team, and they got behind that team. So I really hope, that, WFAN is much better when the Knicks are good. It's a much better listen when the Knicks are good.
Yes.
And B, basketball is more exciting when there's excitement in New York basketball.
And they're the last They're the last squad for our generation, and then a little bit, and the guys who are 10 years, 20 years younger. They can remember the Giants winning a Super Bowl. They can remember the Mets winning a World Series or playing in a World Series. They can remember who else is in New York, the Yankees. They can remember a lot of these teams, the Rangers, Mato. They can remember those moments, but there's not the championship moment for the Knicks. I think that's the last one they're waiting for, and I think it could happen. I mean, they just need a couple of stars to come to New York. And they thought they were going to get Kyrie. They thought they were going to get, Durant. Those guys chose to go, to Brooklyn. So we'll see what happens as far as the Knicks goes. But the Knicks,
and they're not going to be the destination team for the older stars anymore. I think they're going to, the way it looks, they're going to be avoiding going for those free agents, and good for them. Continue to do it. Again, talking about how that garden always sounds the same. Listen to game 2, watch game 2 again and go back and listen to Willis Reed walking out on the court.
Yeah.
And that garden just sounds the same.
The acoustics in the garden are amazing because, like you said, for Rangers and Knicks, it's just amazing.
Yeah.
It
even concerts, when you go there, it's just great sounding, the acoustics. But for some reason, the Knick crowd always sounds the same, and it's not pumped in noise.
Yeah. Why do you feel like a guy like Kawhi Leonard is not feeling the same heat as a LeBron James right now? I know LeBron James, they're both 3-2 could be possibly on their way out. We were sitting there waiting to see, hey, Western Conference Final, maybe this is a chance for they're in opposite brackets. Maybe you get Clippers Lakers to get the series that everybody wants, and they're both on the precipice of being eliminated. LeBron's trying to get over the hump with the Suns, and then now you have Kawhi trying to do it against Luka Doncic and the Mavericks.
The number one reason is the two colors, purple and gold. That's the pressure right there. I mean, if Kawhi was on the Lakers, I think he'd be taking a hard time. And he's, Kawhi's not what LeBron James is off the court. So LeBron has a lot of haters over stuff he says, so people are looking for these opportunities. And face it, going back to, his early days in Cleveland, he wasn't getting a lot of respect from the media. And then there was the whole, a lot of people blame him for the super teams. The big three, they all blame LeBron, and I think that's just held against him. And now, they lose a game without Anthony Davis. And the attack is just going to be there. It's like, oh, see, I told you can't win without superstars on your team.
Yeah. I mean, it is what, at the end of the day, I think you're right. I think I'm not necessarily one of them, but I know that people are. I think the one thing that he said that really irked me was the whole, people have to go back to their boring jobs and stuff like that. And I think he owned up to that being a mistake. But as far as that goes, listen, he's chosen his path, whether you like him and Rich Paul or not. They've chosen their path, and it's been a $1 billion path, if you will. So it's not like
and if the Clippers had 18 championships,
exactly,
it would be on Kawhi. It would be, hey, why are you down 3-2? Right now everything is, where's Kawhi going to play next year? Because it's obviously not
already already, and he just got there. Which is the
he has the opt out after the season,
which is crazy because you look exactly what they were able to, what they're, when you look at what the the Clippers, they kind of signed up for it. They had no way of avoiding it. They had to just do exactly what he said, otherwise he was going to leave and not come there. But for him to have an opt out after 2 years and not help really build the franchise, when we all know, listen, he wants to be in Rancho Santa Fe. He wants to be close to home in San Diego. I don't know where he's going to go. I don't think he's going to go anywhere. I just think it's really crazy that we're already talking about it. It's already a thought in our mind in the first round of the playoffs that he's not going to be there to build that team
because it's just not working, and it's it is not.
Well, I mean,
what happened last year.
His right hand man So here's the thing: the reason why LeBron and AD won that championship last year is those guys know each other for a long time. Like when you go to war with somebody, whether it's at work, whether it's in sports, if you know them for a long time, you know how they react to pressure. I know what to expect from you. You know what to expect from me, right? If it's somebody who's just brand new, I mean, he was on the phone trying to get KD to come to LA, he's trying to get any superstar to come to LA, and the only guy he could get was Paul George, and Paul George is in a clutch moment, he's gonna hit the side of the backboard on a three from the corner. So that's not his dog. That's not somebody who he really has faith in. I know. I mean, KD and Kyrie they go deep. They go deep back together. They're not two people who just said, "Hey, on a whim, we're gonna play together." You know what I'm saying? So,
no, exactly.
Yeah,
and it's nice when they're both on the court.
Yeah, no question about it. I am speaking of the Nets real quick and KD. I don't know about you, but the way the Bucks totally dismantled the Heat, I'm excited about this next series. Because
I give the Bucks a good chance of this series. I think the Bucks are going to be their toughest competition.
Yeah, I mean, you can sit there and say, I mean, they have the size, they have the 3-point shooting. They really have a lot of pieces to. I mean, I think the expectations that people have, they also can force some of those big three players that they have to play defense. I think that's a huge part of the reason why, LeBron and Kyrie were able to beat the Warriors is because Steph Curry couldn't rest on defense. He had to drive. He had to play against Kyrie Irving. If he can rest, then forget about it. But like Kyrie and those guys, they're not gonna be able to rest. Drew Holiday's gonna make him play. He's gonna make him play defense, and then that should be interesting to see how that breaks down. I know Giannis's remarks after the game were like, "Hey, after that series was over, like, hey, this is not the bubble anymore." So he's feeling good about his chances to win this series, and it should be. Don't go back and look at the season series. That's over with. Both teams are healthy. Both teams are ready to go. That should be a fun series in the Eastern Conference.
Yeah, and the Bucks just look like a competition. Yeah. They took a lot of disrespect last year. And then have to spend the whole offseason with media talking about Giannis needs to ask for trade to go to a winner. And this team has a lot of confidence in themselves. And I did not see that coming against Miami. Not that kind of demolition of its team. Not at all.
I thought they could win, but damn, like not like that.
Not a sweep like that.
Not like that. Not like that. My goodness. I think you know what? You give Giannis credit, give Dame Lillard credit. Like they're not. So far, they have not chased to go somewhere else. They haven't. I think Giannis has probably thought about it, but he has not chased that. He has not chased that at all. You have any fond memories of the USFL? Like, I don't remember. Did you see that update? Now, I saw the update on my phone immediately that Fox is going to roll out the USFL. Are we?
Yeah, I remember watching Doug Flutie play and Herschel Walker. I was a huge Herschel Walker fan when
Steve Young was on the Generals back in the day too.
Steve Young, yeah. So it was one of those things where, they were signing all these players. And Steve Young is from Greenwich, so to see him sign a big contract back then. I remember thinking the Boston Breakers, that was who they were the first year before they moved around a few times, had really cool helmets. My friend and I, because we liked Michigan, we were going to be Panther fans because of Anthony Carter. Mm-hmm. But yeah, it don't really have many memories of it. I know for a while, ESPN Classic was playing old USFL games for a while, but yeah, nothing really. I mean, and there's a great 30 for 30 on the USFL and how it just fell apart and the reasons why. So, it's a nice little nostalgia, but I don't, I can't get excited for it.
Why do people persist on trying to bring back other football leagues when the NFL is so incredibly dominant?
Yeah, I know. I mean, unless you're going to use this as a league like the World Football
college football. I'm sorry, and college football. College football is so big, and so is NFL. So why even venture into this? It kind of makes no sense.
Yeah, no, you just can't compete with the NFL. And It'll be nice nostalgia. We'll see what happens. It's going to get fans to the games. I mean, we're not talking about, if they allow 8,000 people in Giant Stadium, with restrictions, then that's probably how many people were attending general games the last couple of years of the league was 8,000. So it's you're going to need high money owners and to get players into this league if that's their goal, and you just don't have those out there right now. You don't have those type of, if someone has money and they want to buy a team, they're going to buy into the NFL. And back in the day, like, it was impossible for a new ownership to get into the league.
Yeah.
They voted people down left and right. There was that good old boy attitude of, not in our league, you're not coming in. So someone with money nowadays, if they want to get into the NFL, they're going to get into the NFL.
Yeah. Take a quick break and we'll come right back and we'll go into our bread and butter, a little MLB, a little Major League Baseball. Be right back on the On Waivers Podcast. Cool. All right, and we'll go.